Hello my friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And what I have for you today is a Criterion segment, because you may or may not know that the Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion sale has started, and it goes on until August 4th. So you can either shop in-store or online and get your titles at 50% off. So now's the time for all those lists we've been making. Go ahead and cash them in. So what I thought I would do for you today are some Criterion reviews. I have chosen 3 films that I have recently watched and enjoyed. And then I have a 4th that was actually a viewer request because someone wanted to know about adding it to their collection. So they asked if I would do a review on it. And I am just going to get right into it. The ones that I picked, these are newer additions to the collection, so they're all in the upper 900s. So some of them, actually one of them just came out on Tuesday, so they're newer ones to the collection. The first one is Spine number 975, Funny Games, and this one was from 1997. And I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis on all these because I don't want to get into any spoilers. And then you guys can do a little research and decide if, it's something you want to add to your collection. So basically what we have is this family. We're following the family. They're going to their vacation house, which is in a gated, very affluent community. They're situated on a lake. They're, as they're driving in, they're waving. They know all their neighbors. It seems that everybody kind of knows each other. And because it's on a lake, everybody has these boats, and that's how they kind of zip back and forth to each other's houses for parties, barbecues, whatnot. So when they get there, the husband, and it's a mother, it's a husband and wife and their son. And the father and the son go down and they start prepping the boat, working on the boat. Well, she is unpacking the house and she's on the phone. She's making plans for people to come over. The whole, vacation thing. And she hears a knock on the door. It's one of their friends, a neighbor friend, and he is with a young man that she doesn't know. He introduces her to the young man and they have a little bit of small talk. And off he goes. And the whole situation there was a little bit uncomfortable. A few minutes later, the young man returns. And he says, "You remember me? I was just over with so-and-so." "Oh, right. And he said, "His wife asked me to come over and borrow some eggs from you." She's like, "Eggs?" She's like, I just got here." She's like, "I don't know if I..." So she's looking for the eggs and she tells him to wait. So he's in the door, creeps his way into the foyer, and next thing we know, he has totally encroached on her space and he's now in the kitchen with her. And she just wants to get rid of him. So she gives him the eggs. Lo and behold, he goes outside, he drops the eggs. And we know it's intentional. Comes back in, wants more eggs. And with that, his buddy shows up, another young man who he introduces to her and is right in the house. So now the two of them are in the house with the woman alone. And she is obviously uncomfortable. They're talking about these golf clubs that are in the corner of the foyer, and they start grabbing at the clubs. "Oh, can we take them outside and use the clubs?" Now imagine you're somebody and all of a sudden these two young guys that you don't even know, they're walking through your front door and you don't really know what's going on. You don't have your bearings, and they're touching your things, and they're taking your husband's golf clubs outside, and this is what's going on. So while this is going on, after they take the clubs outside, and she's like, "Just go, take the eggs and go," her husband comes back with the young son, and in the course of their awkward conversations, they hit the husband, and they hit him in the leg, rendering him pretty much helpless. He can't walk, he can't stand on his leg. And just to give you just a blanket overview of what this is about, these two guys hold this family, these 3 people, hostage. And they basically spend the night playing what they call these games, which are basically dares. And it's terroristic in nature. It's really psychological terror. And what they do is they play these games with them, and they're basically dares or whatever that they have to perform, and they say if they don't, if they don't do them to their satisfaction, someone's going to get hurt, someone could get killed, someone could get stabbed, whatever. But bad things are going to go on. And they are just torturing these people. It is just full-on psychological torture for the whole night. So that's basically what I can tell you. And these 2 young guys, they're such textbook sociopaths. They're just sick young men with no regard for human life, no regard, no feelings, no remorse, nothing. They don't care. They just want to terrorize these people for who knows why, for reasons we don't know. And there's a couple things that go on in this movie that I think are pretty cool. One of them that I thought the director did an amazing job with is that there are certain points in the movie where something horrible will be going on, and I think it was the woman, and the one that comes to mind, and she's screaming and carrying on, and the guy who's, you know, one of the two guys, he turns around and he breaks the fourth wall and starts addressing the audience. And if that wasn't done right, it could totally blow the moment, totally take us out of the moment. But the director did such a great job, and just with such finesse, and just worked it into the story in such a way, it just worked. The movie didn't miss a beat. And he only did it a few times. They didn't overuse it. And the way they did it and when they did it, it worked to perfection. So I really thought that was very well done. And the other thing that, it might be a good thing for some people, it might not be a great thing for other people, is that anything that kind of happens, whether it is if they're inflicting a wound, if they're stabbing someone, if they're shooting at someone, if they're physically torturing someone, it always happens pretty much always happens off screen. Like, you'll have our main situation is in the living room, and one of the characters will get up and go, say, to the kitchen. We, as the audience, follow that character. We know what's going on in the living room, but we don't actually see it. We come back and see the end result, but we don't actually see it. Now, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, that might be something that hardcore horror fans don't really appreciate, because, you know, a lot of hardcore horror fans, they like to see what's going on screen. They don't just want to come back and find somebody, you know, with their hand missing. They want to know what happened. But where I think it may work is because the gore pretty much takes place off screen. I think this is a movie that will appeal to a much wider audience, because people who are not a fan of the gore factor will be fine watching this movie, because it really is more of a psychological thriller than horror. So just make your decision accordingly. I don't think doing it the way they did it, I don't think it took away from the movie at all. I mean, you get the full effect of the full psychological effect of what these kids are doing to these people. So with or without the on-screen gore, they nailed it. I thought it was a great movie, and if you're into psychological thrillers, definitely put Funny Games on your list. Check it out, look it up, you know, and make your decision that way. But really, really good one. And like I said, it's from 1997. It is 109 minutes, so it's not a super long run time. It is in German with English subtitles, but really easy to follow. And as far as the extras, there's not a ton of extras. It has a new 2K digital restoration, so it looks good. It is in the 1.85 aspect ratio, so it fills up the screen real nice. They have some interviews with the director, which I'm going to go back and watch those because I think those would be interesting. And they have interviews with a film historian, and they also have a press conference from the 1997 Cannes Film Festival, which I think would be really interesting to watch. So let me just show you the packaging real quick so you see what you get. And like I said, this one just came out like about a month and a half ago, so it's a new one. This is pretty plain with the disc art, but you get the name, which is cool. And I like the red and black and white theme. I'm always a fan of that with everything. And then we have the infamous broken eggs here. The little eggs that started it all. And then we have the front, back, and spine. And then we have more like an essay leaflet. You don't really get a book. This is the young man, actually the wife, and the young man, the first young man that comes to the house who wants to play with the golf clubs. And then what we have is essays. So that's what you get with Funny Games. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was well done. I thought it was well acted. I thought it was directed to perfection. I really think it's a really safe, solid buy. If you, like I said, if you're into psychological thrillers, definitely put this one on your list. And now this next one, this was such an amazing surprise. I knew nothing about this movie except what I read on the back and the synopsis I read online. And wow, I just loved it. It is Spine number 955 Panique. And this one, it comes 1946, so it's an older movie, and it's a French movie. Basically what we have is we have a little town. And we have all the little shops in town, and there is a carnival being set up. And of course, a lot of the people in town, especially the business owners, they're not real happy. They're like, you know, come on, we're going to have a carnival. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be loud. What are you going to do? The carnival's setting up. While they're setting up the carnival, all of a sudden we see a pair of feet with shoes on them. It's a dead body. So the carnival workers are freaking out. They found this dead body. They're running. They're getting the police. the police figure out who the woman is, and apparently it's this very nice woman who no one should have had a problem with. And now they have to launch this investigation to figure out who has murdered this woman. And we have three main characters in our film here. We have the one man who is all around town, but he's a loner. He doesn't really talk to anybody. He doesn't really interact with anybody. And nobody really likes him. They're kind of put off by his, by his keeping his distance from people. And we have a new girl in town who nobody knows, but she's kind of just shown up in this first day where all this activity has happened. And then we have another guy who lives in town who's a very affable guy. He's very friendly. He plays cards with all the guys. Everybody knows him. They like him. They listen to him. So those are our three main characters. And there are two main lessons that come out of this this movie, and I will get to them in a minute. Basically, what we find out about the young woman is that she has just gotten out of jail, and she went to jail for a crime she didn't commit. She basically took the fall for a gentleman who she is in love with, who committed a crime. She went to jail for him to protect him. And that's what we find out. And I don't want to get into any more because I don't want to ruin the whole plot. But what I can tell you is the lessons that we learn in this movie are, number one, how much toxic relationships can just ruin the best people. Toxic relationships, when you're in love and it's a toxic relationship, just consider it game over, because it is going to absolutely destroy you from top to bottom. And a lot of times we don't really see it until we see the outcome of what that toxicity does to either ourselves or other people that we may care about. So that's the first lesson. And then the other lesson is about group mentality, because really what ends up happening is that everybody immediately points at this guy who's a loner, and they start sharing all these stories about, oh, well, he tries to give my kid candy all the time, and did you see when he acted weird in the bar? Oh yeah, well, he did this to me and he did that to me. And the butcher says, oh, well, every time he comes into my place, he asks for his steaks extra bloody. So yeah, sure, he must have been the one. And they're all trying to share their stories and kind of build this wildfire of, a public panic over this guy who's a loner who really no one knows anything about. They don't know where he was. They don't know who he is. They don't know anything about him. But they want to pin the murder on him. So that's all I'm going to tell you about this one, but it is an excellent, excellent movie, and the lessons that you learn in here still hold true today. So I feel like this is one of those movies that it just holds up over time. Yes, it's an older looking movie. It's an old, it's 1946, so it's an old movie, but all the things that are going on in this movie are still so relevant in our lives today, and it's really an eye-opener, and it is a fantastic movie. I loved it. I thought it was great. So basically it is 98 minutes, so it's a quick run time. It's black and white. It's French with English subtitles, but the subtitles are really easy to follow. And the Blu-ray, okay, the special edition features, it says it has a new 2K digital restoration. But my thing is, I saw a lot of grain in it, but because of the time period and the way the movie was shot, it was pretty much all outside. Most of it, I would say 90% of it was shot outside. I thought it looked good. I thought it added a certain ambiance to the movie that it needed, that it required. And I just thought it worked. If it had been a perfectly crystal clear movie, I don't think it would have had that same feel, that little town feel that this movie did have. It's an old little French town, and I think that came through with the way the transfer went. But there's also an interesting documentary about the art of subtitling. So it's kind of interesting. It's about the history of subtitles. So I really want to watch that, because I know a lot of people are a little, reluctant to take on subtitles. And I'm always trying to say, don't be put off by it, because there's so many great films that are subtitled. But that might be an interesting documentary to take a look at. And there's a bunch of other extras, because there's always tons on the Criterion. But this is the cover. And then I will show you, it's very plain on the inside. This is a really plain edition. But again, it's got the black and red, which I love. And inside, really, there's nothing. It's just like, it's plain black with a line. I don't know what I don't know what the significance of that is, but then we have a couple of essays that were written on the film, and they are in this leaflet here. And then there's a building on the back, which I am not going to tell you what that building is about because you have to watch the film to find out, but it is very, very significant in the movie. So yeah, Panique would be my second choice. I think it's a wonderful film. I think there's so much to be learned. It's definitely full of lessons, life lessons. Spine number 955. So put that on your list to check out. And my third film, this one just came out Tuesday, and I watched it last night. It was a first-time watch for me. It has been out on Blu-ray before, but this is the first time it has been part of the collection, obviously. It is Spine number 982, Hedwig and the Angry Inch. It's from 2001, and this was a play that was made into a movie. Basically, Hedwig was born a man in East Berlin, had sexual reassignment surgery for reasons I'm not going to get into because it's explained in the film. And we catch up with her while she is now in America, and she is performing in a punk rock band. She's the lead singer. She is all about herself. She is not ashamed of who she is. She's out there. She's blowing the roof off the places that she's playing. And when you see the venues they're playing in, because no one wants to hire them because they're this crazy bunch of performers, and she's out of her mind when she performs. She's wild. So they're playing in these like little bakeries and ice cream shops and little cafes where like she'll be in front of the salad bar and the band is behind the salad bar. It's just funny. And I just loved everything about her. I loved her attitude. I love that she's unapologetic for who she is. And basically what she's doing is the music in this is amazing. It's so good. It's so catchy. And I love punk, so it had that whole punk feel. So if you like that, you're going to love this. And through her music, she tells us her life story. And it's a musical. And that's how she tells us her story and how she ended up where she is, the things that brought her to the place she's at today. And what we find out is that currently, present day, she is going around after this guy who she says is the love of her life, who is also a very successful rock star, who she claims she was in love with, and she kind of groomed him into the person that he is. And the guy's played by Michael Pitt. The rock star is played by Michael Pitt, who you might remember from Boardwalk Empire. She claims she wrote all of his songs that he's singing, that it's all her music that he's singing, and she's off performing in ice cream shops. So she's having a fit. She is all about it. And her manager is hilarious. The manager says she's got to stop stalking him. She's like, I'm not stalking him. And it's crazy. It's madness. And one of the best things is when she starts performing, the faces the people in the audience make, it's priceless. It's unbelievable. It is so good. This is so refreshing, and it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Take the Rocky Horror Picture Show and make it 100 times better, and that's Hedwig. It is so, so, so good. And I think if you can be open-minded and just go into it with an open mind and enjoy it for what it is, I think you're going to have a really, really fun experience with it, because this is a blast. And there's so many extras. It comes with a new 4K digital restoration that was supervised by the director. There are so many extras. I'm going to hold it up here so you can freeze that and see the extras. And like I said, it was from 2001. It's 91 minutes, and it goes by. It's like, goes right by. It's in color, 1.85 aspect ratio, fills up the screen. It looks beautiful, and it's going to give your sound system a workout. It sounds great. The music's awesome. So if you enjoy these kind of things, if you enjoy something different and like a musical punk type of thing, you're going to love this. I think they did such a great job with it. And the artwork, there's artwork that goes along with some of the songs she sings. The artwork is so creative and so unique. You're just going to love it. And this is the disc art, which is kind of like the style of artwork that goes on with the music. And it'll make more sense when you see the movie, but it's very cool. This is the inside. I think it's beautiful. And then this is a couple shots of Hedwig. Not always having the best day there, but Yeah, it's oh god, this is such a blast. I wish I had seen this as a play. I believe it was an off-Broadway play, but I don't know how long it ran for, but I did not see it. I wish I had. And then it comes with a beautiful essay book that is over, it's over 50 pages, but you have beautiful stills. There's also some very inappropriate things that I have to make sure I don't show you. There's some cool artwork inside that is kind of sort of what they do in the movie. And then they have a bunch of articles and stills from the movie, but really, really great performances all around. And like I said, the music is so catchy and it is so real and so raw. There are moments when your heart is breaking for her, then you're cheering for her, then you're like, yes, go get him. You know, like you want her to just, you know, hit one out of the park and just tell everybody, you know what, this is the way it is. You're not going to treat me like this anymore. And she is so unapologetic for the person she is, and I just loved it. I thought it was great, and I hope you love it too, because I think this is very, very deserving of our attention. And I know I'm saying that I love it about all these. I probably sound like a nut that I loved all these films, but it's just a lot of great films are coming to the collection, and these are just a few of them. So Hedwig and the Angry Inch, that would be my next choice. Spine number 982. Definitely put it on your list. And now this last one, this was a viewer request. I actually watched it quite a while ago, so I had to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a while. It is Spine number 89, Brian De Palma's Sisters. And this one was from 1973. It stars Margot Kidder. She plays Danielle, a beautiful model separated from her Siamese twin, Dominique. Now, this is a very basic premise. I'm just going to give you just, you know what, basic plot synopsis, and then you guys can do your homework and decide if you want to add it. Basically, Danielle meets a man. She brings him home to her apartment, which is it has all windows around the side. And across the courtyard, there's another building where a woman named Grace, who is a reporter, she does like human interest pieces and these silly little articles for the local newspaper, Staten Island newspaper. And she believes that she witnesses a murder taking place in Danielle's apartment. So she calls her mother, she calls the police, she wants to send the police over, and police go up there, they can't find any evidence. They're like, you know, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Now this Grace, she's sick of doing these human interest pieces. She wants to get a real juicy story, and she's going to stop at nothing to figure out what was going on, what she saw happening in that apartment. And what ends up happening is she kind of becomes like a junior sleuth, like a junior detective. She teams up with a guy who works for one of the utility companies, and she starts sending him in to check out the apartment and try and figure out what is going on, what went on in Danielle's apartment. Now, what I can tell you, a couple of things that happen. Number one is Brian De Palma uses this really unique style in his camera work, and mostly in the beginning, where he does like these split screens, so you can see multiple views of the same, you know, what's going on at the same time. And I didn't really enjoy that. I thought that was a little weird, but he seemed to enjoy doing it because he did it quite a few times. But it was in just like this one sequence of events, and then it kind of stopped for the rest of the movie, so that was cool. But then he did another thing that was really neat, and I liked it, and I thought the camera work was brilliant with this, is it's almost like a voyeuristic point of view. Like when the woman is sending the people in to check out the utility guy, she's sending him in to see if he can find evidence in the apartment. The way the camera follows him is you almost feel like a voyeur, like you're someplace that you really shouldn't be, and you're snooping around in someone's things that you shouldn't be snooping around in. And I thought that was really, really, that was just genius. And this movie has definitely has feelings of Hitchcock. There's definitely nods to Hitchcock. And I know it was coined a horror movie, but I wouldn't say it's a straight up horror movie. I would call this one, again, a psychological thriller, because we're trying to figure out, was there a murder? Where did this murder take place? Who did it? What happened? You know, the whole chain of events. And, you know, that's about as much as I can tell you without ruining it. But the ending of this really is crazy. I definitely can't go there. But Grace, the reporter, is not going to give up on this until she has an answer. And she takes it right to the end and we get our answer. So definitely, to the person who asked about adding this, if you like psychological thrillers and you like that Hitchcock type of feel, you're definitely going to enjoy Sisters. And if you want to see something, it's definitely a little different. It's a different type of a movie. It's presented in a different way, and like I said, with the weird camera styles and the weird angles and the split screens, it's definitely bringing something new and fresh to the table. So if you like that type of thing, I would say definitely give this a look. And Margot Kidder is great in this. I thought she did a great job, and I enjoyed this from beginning to end. And the ending, I didn't see that one coming. It was definitely, I'm glad Grace followed it to the end. No, really, it was a good ending. So yeah, definitely, I would say give Sisters a look if you want to add it to your collection. I think it's pretty safe too. But like I say with everything, do your homework, check it out, watch some trailers, read some more, read some articles on it, and see what you think. Check IMDb, and I think it gets pretty high scores on there. But it's a good one. It's from 1973. It's in color. It's in English, so there's no subtitles. It has a 1.85 aspect ratio. Fills up the screen nice. It looks good. It has a new 4K digital restoration. It was approved by director Brian De Palma. Oh, who, by the way, if you're interested in Brian De Palma, A24 has a really cool documentary called De Palma, which might be a nice companion piece. It's a documentary on Brian De Palma. It would be a nice companion piece to this if you're interested in him and his work. So that's just my little aside. And then it has a bunch of interviews with Brian De Palma, Jennifer Salt. It has an audio discussion with De Palma from the American Film Institute, and it has a 1970 appearance from Margot Kidder on the Dick Cavett Show. Is it me, or does everybody go on the Dick Cavett Show if they're in the Criterion Collection? Anyway, it just seems like I feel like I say that every single time. Anyway, it also has an essay by a film critic. So I will show you what you get. This is the cover. Pretty cool cover, since they are supposed to be Siamese twins. And again, this is a little plain, but I like the whole black, white, and red theme. This is the disc art. And this is Danielle enjoying her birthday cake, which will make more sense to you when you see the movie. And then we have, I don't know, did I show you that? No, I didn't show you the front, back, and spine. And then we have, this one comes with a nice essay book. It's not just a leaflet. You get a really good interview with Brian De Palma. So you have a nice long interview with Brian De Palma, and you have a bunch of stills and other essays from the movie. Now, what I like to tell people about these essay books is sometimes they contain spoilers about the movie. So if you're going to read the essay book, I highly recommend doing it after you've watched the movie, because you always take the risk of finding out things that you don't want to know before the movie. And then these are the sisters on the back. So that is Sisters, and that would be the last film that I have on my table here today. So hopefully, I obviously enjoyed all of these, so hopefully you found a few to add to your list. And I'm going to continue doing these segments. I'll do more of these through the month, because when there's the sale on, I like to get as many of these in as I can to help you guys out with titles. If there are titles that you're interested in, please leave them in the comments. If I have them in my collection, I'm happy to do them for you. I want to thank you guys as always for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Again, leave some comments, suggestions, recommendations. You know I'm always looking for recommendations. Consider subscribing and hit the bell notification so you know when I upload my content again. And I'm in this new thing of batch recording, so you might see me in this shirt in a few more videos, because I think I'm going to just sit here and keep the ball rolling. Anyway, that's going to do it for me for today. And again, I want to thank you guys as always for being here. You know it means everything to me. And for now, that's a wrap.